Okay, we'll start with our presenter today is Seana Turner. And Seana founded the Seana Method in 2010 because she wanted to help people. In a society where accumulation of wealth has always been linked to high quality of life, Seana was witnessing the direct opposite. Friends often complained of clutter, crowded schedules, and a general sense of being overwhelmed. Born and raised outside of Philadelphia, Seana attended, and Carl, you'll appreciate this, the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania, where she earned a BS in economics. She moved to Connecticut in 1989, where she worked in marketing consulting until deciding to leave full-time employment to be home with her children. During this time, Seana developed the Seana Method, a structured approach designed to bring freedom through organization. Seana helps clients stay on task as she guides them through the process of culling through accumulated clutter and creating an organized environment. Seana lives in the New York metro area with her husband, where she spends her free time on the beach.
Hello.
1 second. Is it anything important? Okay.
Everybody, please mute themselves other than Joe and Seana.
Yeah, I was trying to, but I had to.
I can try it.
Without further, Seana Turner.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be with you. I loved the jokes. I'm feeling sort of sad that I might not be able to hear Carl's presentation about watches and travel later in October. That sounds pretty awesome. But I'm glad to be here. I'm going to share my screen, if that's okay with you all. See if we can make this work. And let me go to a better view. Here we go. Okay, so that was the background on me. If you have questions, it's probably easier to just wait and we can do them at the end. Yeah, okay. So, and what do I have, about 45 minutes or so?
Yeah, 45 minutes, and then we'll have a 15-minute, 10 to 15-minute Q&A afterwards.
Terrific. So you heard my background. I came up here actually and worked for Marketing Corporation of America, which was in Westport, if that rings any bells with any of you. And when my children were getting older, I have 2 daughters, one who's 27, one who's 23, both of whom are far away from me at the moment, sadly. But I could see that I was going to have some time, but I still needed flexibility. And that's when I got into this profession. And primarily what I do is help people to organize their time, their space, and their belongings. And I work in all formats. Sometimes I'm helping people prepare to downsize. Sometimes I'm helping people get ready for the new baby. Sometimes I'm just helping somebody who's got a house full of stuff and it's driving them crazy. Some people I see every week, some people I'll see for a project and never see again. So there are many models, and my whole goal is just to bring non-judgmental help, because I really do believe in the process of getting organized and that it improves your quality of life. So today I'm going to talk about tough to toss, and I'm primarily talking about things that are not easy to get rid of for a variety of reasons, and what we can do to make that process easier. And I have to put the little COVID warning on this because some of the ways that I knew to release belongings have been altered during this time. So we'll do the best we can. I may tell you something and it could be different next week. So we'll just do the best we can with that. So the first thing to remember is that in order to be organized, you must keep your belongings moving. You must keep them moving. We tend to get disorganized when we allow things to come in and pile up, but we never get them out. And it's obvious why we do this, because it's more fun to acquire than it is to sort stuff and, you know, move things along. But if things pile up, you're going to have a hard time being organized. And sometimes we just resist letting go. Maybe we have furniture that has significance to us, even though we're not using it or have a need for it. Or maybe, you know, we think, golly, this is worth a lot of money. I probably shouldn't get rid of it. Or maybe we think, oh, but I just love books and I might someday come back and read them, which you probably won't. Paperwork is a biggie. A lot of people have accumulated paperwork in their homes, especially people of my generation, your generation. The young ones just do everything online. And, you know, sometimes we think, well, it could be a treasure. You never know. I don't know. Maybe it's got value. So many reasons why we resist letting go. Unfortunately, what happens when we resist letting go is sometimes things get out of control. This is really out of control, but maybe you relate a little bit to this gentleman in this picture. And frankly, I have to say, he looks pretty happy with his setup. So sometimes we are really content with the way our space is, but maybe we're driving someone else crazy. That's very common, that we have one sort of half of the family who's what I call the keepers, like this gentleman, and then we have another half who are the shedders, and that creates tension, but it's actually a healthy tension because it keeps you from being too extreme on one end or the other. So what do we do with items that we don't want to let go? My experience is this: we keep it, and we have this idea that one day our children are going to want it all. And I'm sitting here to tell you, probably not. Probably not. The furniture and the furnishings and the things that I own are either dated, or maybe don't work so well, or are the wrong color. The young generation wants to be footloose and fancy free, and they like things to come from Crate and Barrel and Restoration Hardware, not your antique dark wood dresser, sad to say. So we tend to hold on to it all. Sometimes we try to shed it. So this is a cartoon that I actually co-published with a young illustrator, and it's called Polly Tries. So Polly character is on the left, and she is the young person trying to get rid of her own things. And we're over here on the right looking through our things and saying, I know what I'll do. I'll give that to my daughter. I'll pass that down to my son. He'll want it. And that's not really a favor unless they have expressed a very clear desire that, yes, they do want it, right? Because then what do? Well, we end up, you know, we have a crowded space if we keep it. We can't even sometimes find what we want. When it comes time maybe to downsize or move, it's hard because we have so much stuff. We may be spending money on storage, self-storage, so the clutter might actually be costing us money. We may be leaving a burden for our children or our grandchildren. And when we have too much, we increase the odds that something's going to be damaged or lost. When our solution is just to pass it down to our kids, to our family, well, we may pass some of the guilt we've been holding onto a family member. So if I have trouble getting rid of the shawl my grandmother gave me, and then I give it to my daughter and say, this was really important to your great grandmother, now she's got the guilt, even if she doesn't want the shawl. So that's not really helping her. We may just be crowding the space of loved ones and sort of putting a burden on them. So if they want it, great. But if they don't pass it on to them, and don't make them feel guilty if they don't want it. So the question becomes for all of us, what do we do with it when we don't want it? And I'm going to take you through a little flow chart. So we might be able to look at something and say, I really don't want this, but what should I do with it? So we have to ask ourselves a few questions. First question is it in good shape? Critical question. If it is in good shape, then we might say, well, is there a market for me to sell this item to someone else? And if there is a market, then we might sell it. Very tricky thing. We may have spent a lot of money for something to buy back in the day that was considered valuable and special and important, but today the market might be completely dried up and you just get pennies when you spent big bucks. So it's important to know, is there a market before you start going to the effort to sell something? If there isn't a market, but it's still in good shape, the best thing to do is to donate. You can benefit somebody else. That gives us a little comfort in letting go because we know we're helping. Now, if it's not in good shape, what we really want to ask, okay, now I know it's not in good shape. I can't donate it. I can't sell it. I'm into disposal world right now. So disposal has gotten complicated, right? 50 years ago, we would have just gotten the dumpster, chucked it all in, done, right? But that's not the way we do things anymore. So the first question we want to ask is, can this be recycled? Some are yes, some are no. If it can, then of course, we'd like to recycle it, trying to help the environment, keep things out of the landfill when we can. But if it can't be recycled, then we need to figure out what's the best way to dispose of it. And I say dispose instead of trash because some items cannot go into trash, right? You know, and we're going to talk about some of those. The items that can't go into trash are the ones that tend to be tough to toss. Okay? So that's sort of where we are. I'm not going to talk about selling today. That's a whole separate presentation. It's pretty complex. We're mostly going to talk about donating, recycling, and disposing. Okay, so let's start with donating. So again, donating is for items that are in good shape. They're not tattered, they're not stained, they're not expired, they're not broken. Okay, they're ready to go, decent shape, ready to go. So we kind of have two options when we're talking typical donations. And by those, I mean not giant, heavy, just things like books, housewares, clothing, tools, all that are in good shape. We have kind of two general paths we can take. We can say, I would like someone to come to my house and pick them up. And there are charities that will do this. I love these charities. I've given you some examples here. Big Brother, Big Sister, Salvation Army. I tend to go with the veterans a lot. Free Cycle is a social media platform where you can put things up and say they're free and they're sitting at this address. And then there's also the Facebook Marketplace, which you can sell items there, but also you could sell them for free, which means you're giving them away. If you're going to go through an attic or you're going to do kind of a major purge, this is a great option. You just go online or call, schedule the pickup, and they literally will come like to your garage. So all you have to do is pull it out on the morning that they're scheduled to come. They will leave you a receipt that you can, write down what the value was if you want to track that. It's easy, and it puts a deadline for when you want to be finished sorting through your things because, the vets are coming on Friday. We need to get this done. Love those options. The other option, of course, is that we say, I'm going to put this stuff in my car and drive it and drop it myself at the charity. There are many charities all around, right? Goodwill, national one, but there are local charities as well. And then there is the concept of the take it or leave it. And in Stamford, this is at the Katrina Mygat Recycling Center. Right now, I believe it is only open Tuesdays and Saturdays from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. So this is a great option. I'm in Darien. We have one in Darien too, but they're operating under limited hours. So beware of that before you go. There's a picture of the Katrina Mygat Recycling Center if you've never been there. It's on McGee Avenue, 130, if you've never been down there. Usually pretty busy on a Saturday, so you might prefer Tuesday if you can go on a Tuesday. And you can just take things in there, and if you found something you wanted, you could bring it home too. But I'm on the other end of that conversation today. Okay. All right, recycling. Recycling is for those items, right, that are not good enough to donate, but that there are systems in place in the country for sort of reprocessing them through a commercial program. And this has exploded really in the past 4 years, I would say. It's just really changed, leaps and bounds. This is a hot topic. In the state of Connecticut, we have single stream recycling, which is a wonderful thing. And that sort of has a category of items that you can pitch them all in together, right, into your blue recycling bin. And it's actually fascinating to watch how this goes. They drive them up to a facility in Bridgeport, and I think there's one in Eastern Connecticut as well. The items get dumped into a series of sorters. So they get churned, they're on sort of conveyor belts, they go over things that pop them up, they have giant magnets that come down to suck out any of the metal. It's really fascinating how it works. It's a wonderful technology, but it also has some limits. And I think we're still learning about what the limits are, and the restrictions differ by town. So just because something in your mind, you think, well, this is recyclable, doesn't necessarily mean that it can go into single stream. So just to give you a few examples, there are some things that don't go in. Styrofoam, stickers don't go in. Old, like those address label sheets, don't go in. Even paper food to-go containers don't go in. Anything that's soiled, they don't want. So if you have a pizza box and it's cardboard and you think, well, cardboard's recyclable, but if it has oil from the pizza, it isn't. So I usually end up ripping off the top of the box and recycle that, and the bottom greasy part goes into trash. Tyvek envelopes, any kind of paper or cardboard that's waxy can't go in. Plastic bags, again, plastic bags are recyclable, but not through single stream, because in those sorters I was talking about, they get stuck and they rip. So if you want to recycle plastic bags, they need to go to a collection box, which are at most of the grocery stores. Ceramics, not recyclable. Vases, not recyclable. Mirrors, Pyrex, and then there are other things. But just always ask yourself, I'm not sure. I had on the previous slide here, if you go to your stanfordct.gov, you can see the full list. They actually have a great website to give you information about what can and cannot go into the single stream recycling. Even the aluminum foil, just to point out, yes, totally recyclable aluminum, but it has to be clean. Okay, so let's get down to that last category. We're talking kind of about those disposables. And we kind of have those same two choices that we had for the donates. We can either do it ourselves and take it to what I think is called the scale house, right? Which is at 101 Harborview. They used to call that the dump, right? We can take it ourselves and heave things into the giant dumpsters, or we can hire a company to come and haul things out. And I love the junk luggers. I know Derek over there, if you guys ever need to use them, I'll give you my information at the end. I can connect you with them. They're very respectful and clean, and they'll come in and haul the heavy, big items out. Obviously, you pay for this service. Most of the hauling services charge you by a percentage of the truck that you use. And then some items, there will be an incremental fee. And I'll tell you a few examples as we go through the rest of this. It's obviously more expensive than taking it yourself, but I'll tell you, I can't fit a mattress in my car. I can't carry it down the stairs. So if I need to get rid of something like that, I'm totally calling them. I also find they're very helpful if you have a large space you're cleaning out. So, helping to clean out a home and you end up with piles of things in every room, they can get this done quickly, and they're all young and buff and strong, and it's nothing to them, which is amazing. Okay, so now we're gonna go through some examples one by one of tough to tosses. Ready? Okay, the first one is furniture. And this is one of those items that in the past we would have saved for our kids, because we were always thrilled when somebody gave us some furniture, right? When we were starting out, we were delighted that somebody saved some furniture. But check with your kids, because my experience is that they're really not interested in most of the stuff that we have. Dark wood, not popular. almost anything for the dining room. They don't seem to really like dining rooms, the millennials. I don't know why, but they're not into dining rooms. So, you know, it's hard to get rid of. And I will say when it comes to anything that's big and heavy, if you can find someone to take it out of your house for free, that's a win. So sort of move your brain beyond, I should sell this. This was a really nice handcrafted piece of furniture. Unless it's in mint condition and you have an estimate from an appraiser, which most of the appraisers, you can shoot them a picture, you know, and they'll tell you. But unless somebody who knows what they're talking about tells you that it's worth something, if someone will take it out for free, that would be great. So who might take it out for free? Well, sometimes I find that the cleaning people who come through homes are connected with folks in need, and sometimes would be delighted to be offered a piece of furniture, and they might bring over a couple of friends to help take it out. Then you can feel good about it. Somebody's getting it who really wants it. Now, in terms of donating, we have these same couple of options. If we're going to DIY, if you can get the dresser down the stairs and into a truck, you can take it to the take it or leave it there at Katrina Mygat. The other, it's very hard to get the charities I mentioned before, the vets and the Big Brother, Big Sister. They don't really pick up furniture. And I'll tell you, particularly upholstered furniture is very hard because there is concern about whether it's clean. So, you know, we've had sort of a few rashes of bed bugs and lice and things. So things that are upholstered, charities are very reluctant to take unless they're super new and in very good shape. If you bought something and it's almost new, but it just didn't fit or the color was wrong, you might be able to sell it on like a Facebook marketplace. But let's say you have something that's in very good shape. It's definitely usable, but it's furniture and none of the charities will pick it up. There is this organization, Habitat for Humanity. You've probably heard of it. They build houses for people in need. And they have a side business called Restore. Restore, Habitat for Humanity, Restore. And there are a couple of those spread throughout. I think probably the closest one to us here is the Westchester Restore. And they're in New Rochelle. And there's one in Mount Vernon. There's also one up the coast in Connecticut. They will take good furniture, you know, that's in good shape, and they will pick it up. You have to schedule it with them in advance. Again, COVID caution. They are coming back into doing that now, but they weren't for a while. So you'd have to call them. If you've got a pencil and you want a phone number, the one that's in Westchester is 914-636-8335. 914-636-8335. Now, I'll just want to mention also that the junk luggers that I mentioned, they will take furniture. You have to pay them to take it out, so they won't take it for free, but they've created a sort of back-end store, which is called Remix. And they'll sort of gussy up anything they get asked to haul away that's still in nice shape. They might paint or polish or repair a little bit, and they sell it out of their store called Remix, which is in Stamford. And any money they make, they give to a charity called Mikey's Way. So you do end up paying them to haul it away, but they don't just throw it in the landfill. If it's decent, they'll rescue it and resell it and then give the money to a charity. So it's just another way to feel good about letting go. All right, so that was furniture. That's usually one of the big questions. Mattresses. So mattresses in the state of Connecticut, there is a mattress recycling initiative that was started a while ago. And so mattresses are recycled in our state. And our taxes actually pay for this when you buy a new mattress. You'll pay a little surcharge you probably don't even know that goes towards this mattress recycling program. And if you can do it yourself, you can take it down to the scale house and drop it off for free. Just for an example, if you ask the junk luggers to take it away, they would charge an upcharge of $10 per mattress. So they will take it, and then there's a little extra fee they charge for that. I think it's well worth it because they're heavy and they're big. Okay, batteries. People ask me about batteries a lot. So the answer, people ask me, do you have to recycle batteries or can they go in the trash? And we all grew up throwing batteries in the trash, right? And the answer is that regular alkaline batteries can go in the trash. They do not have to be recycled. Rechargeable batteries absolutely must be recycled. They cannot go into the trash. So rechargeable batteries, lithium batteries that are in a lot of electronics, these have to be recycled. My personal feeling is that most of the town recycling centers collect all the batteries. So I don't throw any batteries into the trash. And it's pretty easy. You could just take an old coffee can or a detergent bottle or even hang a Ziploc bag on the wall to collect them. And then, you know, when you have a container, just drop them down at the dump in their battery recycling area. It's nicer for the environment to not throw them away. Car batteries, those you have to pay. You can maybe take them back to a store like an AutoZone or a place who sells them. Sometimes you'll get credit. Sometimes they're happy to have you come. They'll give you like a $10 store credit or something like that. If you try to recycle it yourself, usually there's a $10 charge for the car batteries because they're big. The button batteries, the little ones for your hearing aids and other things like that, those should also be recycled. They shouldn't go into the trash. And you can take them to the recycling center as well. There are also collection bins at places like Staples and Home Depot. And it says on the bin, call, and then the number 2, recycle. Call to recycle. So I think it's worth it to try to keep the batteries out of the landfill. But if you are someplace and you had to switch some batteries out and you have a couple of AA batteries, alkaline, it's okay. They can go in the trash. All right, printer ink. Printer ink cartridges. I think the best thing to do with those is take them to Staples. They give you $2 of store credit for every cartridge. And basically they take the ink out and they put new cartridges in. And so it works for you and it works for them. It works for the environment. You have to have an account and the whole thing, but you know, they eventually issue you some credit. All right, these are what I call the twirly whirly light bulbs. So we know, like regular old incandescent bulbs, those can go in the trash. These twirly whirly little guys are different. They are actually kind of dangerous. If they break in your house, they release a gas, and you're supposed to open all the doors and windows and get out for a while. So they're kind of tricky to dispose of. They should be taken to the recycling center. So you can take them to the Katrina Mygat Center, but just be aware that breaking them is dangerous. So you want to put them in a container while you're waiting to take them that is rigid so that they don't get compressed. Like a company like Junk Luggers doesn't even want to pick these up at all. They don't take them because they don't want the gases. So be very gentle when you unscrew these, even if they have, sometimes they'll have, nowadays they make them look like a regular light bulb, but underneath the twirly whirlies are still in there. Put them in a box or again, a coffee can or something rigid before you plop them in your car. Don't toss them in a Ziploc bag and then put them in your car. Okay, tires. So when you buy new tires and you go to wherever you're buying your tires, the dealership or some other place, they'll usually take the old tires off of your car and recycle them. Rubber is not recyclable. Doesn't go into single stream, nothing rubber. But let's say you have some old tires that are in your garage. What do you do with them? They're not recyclable. They take up a lot of space in landfills because they're large. And they can be recycled into things like some mulch that they'll use in a playground floor. I think they're even trying to incorporate them into asphalt now, crunch them all up and incorporate them. So you can take them to, if you have a couple, to not the recycling center, but the scale house. And you have to pay them $10 per tire. If you have the junk luggers come, just for comparison's sake, and they do the lifting and the hauling, they'll charge you $20 a tire. So that gives you a couple of options and an idea for what you're going to spend to get rid of those. So of course, best if you're buying new ones, take them back. Have the tire seller take them. All right, propane tanks. These can go kind of a couple of places. They can go to the recycling center, the Katrina Mygot Center, but they can also usually be taken back to wherever you bought it. So like a Home Depot or a hardware store, we'll usually take them back. Better if you can use up the propane and take them back empty. Don't throw that into like the dumpster. Okay, appliances. This question usually comes up when I'm working with people who are renovating their kitchen, right? They have some appliances that are in good shape, because if you just have one appliance that breaks, you have to get rid of that one appliance, and maybe it's not functioning anymore. So we're into a disposal question. So if it works, maybe you're renovating the kitchen, you're just getting some new appliances, and you have appliances that work, then you might be able to do like a Habitat for Humanity restore. They might be interested in that. So if you decide, oh, we're getting a new microwave or a new stove, but the old one still works, reach out to the restore. If you have an appliance that is broken and you just need it hauled away, I'm probably going to suggest the junk luggers or an equivalent to take it out. They're really, the only appliance they're going to charge you extra for is a refrigerating appliance. So a wine fridge or a refrigerator or a freezer, there's Freon in those. It has to be drained. If you take it yourself to the scale house, they'll charge you $12 to have the Freon removed. If you have the junk luggers do it, they're going to charge you $20 to take like a refrigerator or a wine fridge like that to have the Freon drained. That is above and beyond, of course, the cost of hauling it and putting it in the truck for all of those overages. If you're thinking of the restore, remember it's usually like under 5 years old is their benchmark for what they're interested in. Okay, paint. So we have a wonderful program called Paint Care in this state and in many states that they started off in hardware stores, and now I think the closest place for you guys in Stamford is the Sherwin-Williams on Hope Street. And they will take back latex, I believe, and also oil, but call ahead, paint. Sometimes there's a limit, like you can only bring 5 cans at a time kind of thing. This is an expensive one to have hauled away by the junk luggers because they'll charge you $20 a can. And if you have a bunch of them in your garage, that could add up pretty fast. So, and most of us can lift the cans of paint. So I'd say that's a good one to DIY. Building materials. We did a project, we renovated, and I still left 2x4s and 1 sheet of, pegboard and a couple of concrete blocks. I see this all the time in crawl spaces and garages and basements, right? So all of this stuff can be taken to the scale house, to your town, to Stamford dump. Sometimes it's big and heavy and awkward. So you might want to have it hauled away, but it can go there. If you want to DIY it, it's possible. If it's something significant, like let's say you have a bunch of 2x4s in very good condition, that restore, Habitat for Humanity restore, might come and pick them up for you because they can use them in building the new house. But if it looks like this in this picture where it's a couple of ends of wood, they're not interested in that. So you want to dispose of that. You can take, FYI, concrete block to your dump. You can dump up to 200 pounds and they won't charge you. So it's a little bit of exercise, but if you have a few of those lying around, you can dispose of them over there. All right, e-waste. This is a growing category for all of us. And I kind of think people say, well, what's e-waste? What isn't? I say, if it plugs in, think of it as e-waste, generally speaking. So I'm talking about cell phones, televisions, computers, computer peripherals, the old VCRs, cords, especially if they have a battery pack on them, copy machines, fax machines, all that kind of stuff. A lot of these electronics have lead and arsenic and mercury, other metals. And so they're trying to keep them out of the landfills. And just so you know, if they take a load, let's say we take a bunch of trash up to the recycling center, and they'll recycle what they can through the process, but there'll be a byproduct that comes out that didn't make it through the single stream process. That's all going to get hauled away, and most of the trash in the state of Connecticut that we have is being burned because our landfills are full in Connecticut. So it's either getting driven to a landfill in Pennsylvania, or most of it we're burning. And this stuff shouldn't be burned. So we don't want to put electronics into the trash because it will probably end up getting burned, and that's bad for us, can be toxic. So the good news is that we have great recycling. So back at Katrina Mygat, you can take all these electronics. They have sort of an e-waste drop-off area. If you have cell phone, computer, whatever, it's a good idea to clean them first. You can look that up. Honestly, if it's just like a phone, or you pull out the CPU sort of motherboard, you can drill a few holes in it or whack it with a sledgehammer or something like that to make it unusable. But if it's in great shape and usable, you know, and you have private information on there, you should just be cautious about that. There are other, at least there used to be pre-COVID things, people who collected like good cell phones, like working cell phones, maybe you've upgraded to send to soldiers and other things. But for right now, when we're not sort of trying to reach out and investigate new places, I say take it to the e-dump at Katrina Mygat and just remember to clean it off. Just for perspective, the junk luggers, they're probably going to charge you, like for a TV, I think is the upcharge between 10 and 50 bucks, depending on the size of the television. It's about $1 an inch they charge, you know, inch measured this way on your TV. Medication. So we end up with medication that we're not using for a variety of reasons, and it can be over the counter or prescription. Do not flush it. It ends up in the water, right? We don't want that. We don't want this in the water, so don't flush it. There is a program that has been started. It's in this state and other states. I think it's called Citizens Campaign for the Environment, and they've partnered with various places so you can drop off medication. The easiest place for you is the police department in Darien. You can go into sort of the lobby, and there's a drop-off area 24/7. The only hitch is this is not for liquids, this is for pills. So I guess don't worry about the liquids so much, but the pills you can take there. Especially if you have, you know, opioids left over from surgery or something, don't leave those lying around. Better to take them and get them recycled. Needles, sharps, and lancets that we have for various reasons. This is the best thing to do with them. Get a container like a coffee can, cut a little hole in the top, and drop them in every time. When it's full, you tape it up. Tape up that little sort of coin slot that you made, and write on it, on the tape and around, sharps. Then it can go into your regular trash. You just don't want your junk hauler, you know, your trash guy to accidentally come into contact with them. So we want to put them in a rigid, protected container, and we want to label it just in case, so that he would know, oh yeah, okay, this is sharps. Okay. Eyeglasses. If they're not broken, they can be taken. Almost all of the eyeglass stores will take them now. If they're in good shape and you just changed your prescription, Pearl Vision, Lens Crafters, the Lions Club for many years has had a drop off, and I think there is a Lions Club collection at Katrina Mygat. So don't just throw them away. If you've beefed up to a new script and you have another backup pair, you can recycle these. They can be reused. Okay, clothes and linens. So we know about these bins where we can sort of drive up and dump stuff in. This one is called Use Again, even though it looks like it says Us Again. They're trying to say Use Again. And what I like about these, and they're at most of the dumps, is that you can put in linens that are not in great shape. and they will cut off the good parts and make them into rags and things. They're trying to keep as much of the textile out of the landfills as possible. If you have towels, pillows, the veterinarians and the animal hospitals love that stuff because they use them for the animals after they've had surgery, and then they don't have to worry, you know, if they get dirty. So that you get another use out of them. So you could take them to a local animal shelter, whatever. Styrofoam and bubble wrap, this is trash. It's not recyclable, it's trash. If you have like a bunch of it in really good shape, sometimes, at least pre-COVID, the UPS store would collect that and reuse it. But if it's been in your garage for a while and it's dusty and yellow, it's trash. Rugs and carpets, trash. Unless they're in really brilliant, perfect shape, then maybe Restore would want them. But generally speaking, they're fabric. Critters can live in them, so they're soft, they're hard to donate. So, trash. All right, and then the last two things I just wanted to mention that tend to be tough to toss. They're not tough because of what they're made of or because of their size. It's that maybe these are the things we're afraid to toss. We have sort of a fear, what if I need it? Or we kind of have that guilt, emotional connection, like memorabilia. So what I would say is when it comes to the afraids, which typically is paperwork, right? We're afraid, well, I might get audited. So the way to sort of tackle this anxiety is to come up with a rule that you will follow. And usually, like if you have an accountant or you are an accountant, right, you have some ideas, but how many years am I going to keep everything, or how much of everything? And how long am I going to keep tax returns? And what papers am I going to keep forever? Because there are some. So what you need to do first is talk to an expert and sort of deal with your anxiety. Once you have the rules set up, then we can sort the paper and you can say, oh, this is, you know, more than 7 years old, or I don't need to keep this, or this was the closeout of a loan, I'm keeping that, right? It's the finding out the rules that tends to make us anxious, and it's our lack of knowledge that makes us afraid to get rid of things. So if you find you're having that fear reaction about getting rid of something, the answer is that we need to get the knowledge to know what I need to do. Once we have the information, it's not so hard. Now, when it comes to the sentimental stuff, this is kind of, I'll just put it all up at once, right? This is stuff like family heirlooms, or maybe a trophy or an award, things that make us tie back to our previous accomplishments, photographs, souvenirs, love letters, keepsakes, like it's a lot, right? And over a lifetime, we accumulate more and more. And the question is, what do I do with all that stuff, right? So I would say, keep this little graphic in mind. The goal is to have a few things that mean the most to us that we like to periodically look at. We don't want to keep everything from our life. And I sort of tell this story. If you have like one little treasure box that has some special things, you might pull it out periodically. Maybe your grandchildren come and you dig through it and you say, this is from this and this is from this, and it just kind of makes you feel nice. But if you have 27 cardboard boxes stacked on top of each other in the attic, odds are you are not looking at any of it. So you're not honoring it, you're not enjoying it, it's probably degrading, right? So we want to keep less, we want to keep the best. And there might be a subset of what means something to us that would be worth passing down to family members. So not everything that means something to us is going to mean something to our children. And so, you know, if you have something that means something to you, but you don't think will matter to your kids, you could put a note on it that says, you know, feel free to pitch when I'm gone. Because we don't want to pass guilt on to our kids either, or our grandkids, right? We want to give them permission to say, well, keep the things of mine that you connect with, that you have a memory with, right? So when we're looking at something sentimental, we want to ask questions like, what does it mean to me, right? If it means something positive and happy, maybe I want to keep it. Is there a story with this object? Is there anybody in the family maybe who connects with this? Maybe not, right? Is it in good condition? Sometimes we have memorabilia that's quite degraded and it's just really not worth keeping because it's only going to get worse. And we keep it thinking, well, I'm going to have it restored. And then we never do. So be honest with yourself. Do you really want to invest the time and the money and the energy to have it restored? And if you don't, take a picture of it and let the original go, right? How can I save the memory if I can't save the item? So there are ways to take photographs or videos and tell stories and keep things in a much smaller area than keeping, you know, the giant lounge chair of your grandfather's that you've had for so long that if you actually sat in it, it would hurt, right? We don't want to keep that. But we might take a picture of it and we might put in the notes of the picture, I just love this chair. I remember my grandfather sitting in it and it smelled like his cigar and I just love this memory. So limit what you're going to keep to small and accessible so you can honor it and enjoy it. Okay, that's what I've got. I'm ready for questions.
Oh, Seana, thank you for a great presentation. I think, you know, we're all faced with all of those items, and at least it gives us some food for thought on what we can do with it. And looking forward to, I had a question, but you answered it regarding cell phones and eliminating the question, eliminating any personal information on cell phones. How do you?
So you can smash it up, or you can do, you can look up how to do what's called a factory reset. And that will set your phone almost like it's new with none of your information on it. But it differs by phone, whether it's Android or iPhone. So you have to kind of look up the exact model that you have. You could just Google it. You could do factory reset for iPhone 4 or something like that.
Super.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll take the questions in order as they were asked. Stu Madison.
Sure. Question about Goodwill. I've heard they're a profit-making organization. What do they do with the money they make?
Yeah, they sell items in their stores. So that some people feel that's a mixed sort of message, but I don't personally have a conflict of interest with that because that enables them to do things like collect items and get them into the hands at a lower price. So they are a for-profit organization, but mostly to keep their business running. Big brothers, big sisters, if they collect, they sell items as well. They sort through them, they hang them on racks and everything, and then they sell them at the Savers stores, if you've ever heard of the Savers stores. So I think that if there's an organization that works as a middleman, it doesn't bother me because it's still giving me a way to get longer life and more use at a decent price out to the community. But I totally believe that it's fine to sort of look at the charity and decide which one you like the best.
Okay, so a follow-up.
One question per.
Okay, it was still about the Goodwill, but I'll wait.
Okay, Phil Schechter.
My question has to do with shredding papers.
Yeah.
The North Stamford Association used to have an annual shredding event. I don't know that they're active anymore.
Yeah.
What do you suggest?
Shredding is important for anything that has personal data or an account number. I don't really think you have to shred your name and address because, you know, you put that on the return section of every letter you send, and that's publicly available information. But if it has your account number, if it has your social security number, if it has your driver's license number, those things should be shredded. I think if you have a lot of paper in your life, a shredder is a beautiful thing. Don't get the cheapy ones because they'll jam up after you put 2 or 3 pieces through and you'll just, you know, drive you crazy. But you can get a decent shredder at Staples, kind of an industrial one that you can use on an ongoing basis. If you have accumulated and you're doing a big project and I've got 12 boxes of accumulated paper, you have options. Organizations like you just mentioned periodically do free shred events. Banks frequently will do a free shred event. COVID has put a lot of kibosh on this kind of activity because they don't want people gathering, unfortunately. But there are for hire companies too, like a Shred It or an Iron Mountain, and they will often come with their truck right to your home and you can watch them shred. Echo Shred is another one. So if you find you've got more than you're willing to do on your own, you can look into those. Maybe it's possible that when we open up again, we'll start to see these shred events, but it's sort of like the hazardous waste disposal. Those all got canceled this year, right? We all save up those cans of motor oil and things and for the one day a year when you can drive them up, and a lot of them got canceled. So unfortunately, some of that stuff we just have to sit on and be patient and wait until we can catch up as a society to being able to do these things again. But
Yeah,
they're hard to pay shredders.
Katrina has a free one.
You can call the recycling center in Stamford. They used to have the shredders available for the public if they still have them available.
They still do. Joe, they still do. I just used it about 6 weeks ago. It's
All
still
right,
there.
thanks, Stu. Yeah,
Yeah,
so you
there's a
can go to
same-
recycling centers.
The shredded outfit, the last Saturday of every month, they have a truck. It's out down in the Cove area. Like for $25, you do the first 3 boxes that you have, and it's just to drive up. The guys there will help you dump it into their dumpster, and it just goes right into the truck right there.
Right, so you see it happen. Yeah.
Yeah,
But it's free. You do it yourself at the recycling
Yeah.
center. So, all right, Carl Rosen.
Yeah, there used to be a pink bag program in Stamford where they would pick up linens with your recycling. Do you know if that's going to be
I think it was suspended, and I don't know when it's going to come back.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed. And I see in the chat somebody said that there's a restore in Stratford. That's the other one that was up the east direction. So this is good to chat with each other too, because I'm at a Darien, and so I don't know the rules of the Stamford Center as well because I can't get in there. But you're bigger than we are, so. But look for those linen recycle bins, and you can recycle clothing through like a Vietnam Veterans or Big Brother, Big Sister, and they'll pick it up for free.
Lloyd.
Yes, one very important point that a Goodwill hires ex-convicts and those who are on parole, and that's their way to re-enter back into society. My question is, what about photographs? Do you and frames? You just toss them and hope for the best?
Yeah, so photographs is like a whole project. I mean, there are actually people in my profession who specialize in photos. They're photo organizers. So this is a whole project. And really what you do first is you gather your physical photos together. So if most of your photos were sort of pre-digital era and you've got them scattered all over, our goal is to get them together, and there's a sorting process that goes on. And I tell people it's sort of like the ABCs. So the A's would be like album-worthy photos, the ones that you love, you remember the event, you look good in it, it's people. B would be sort of the second tier, I'm not sure. I think I like it, I'm not sure. So you do an initial sort quick, right? Just put them. C is for like can, as in trash can, because these are the ones that are blurry or they're duplicates, or you don't like the way you looked in the photo, or you know, it was the Statue of Liberty trip and you took 12 pictures of the statue instead of yourself. Keep the pictures of your family members, your friends, the people, not the stuff. Keep few. And some people say, well, you have to organize them chronologically, and I don't even remember when all this stuff happened. There are no rules. So if you don't know when these photos were taken, you could make, once you take your A's and the ones you like, you could say, well, I'm going to separate them into like vacations and events and holidays and memories of the family. It doesn't matter what categories you use. It's whatever you want, right? The idea of photographs is to be able to look at them, connect with a memory, and be labeling them so that you could share them with others. Photographs do not get recycled unless they're printed on regular paper from your computer. If they are photographic paper, that's not recyclable. It goes into the trash can.
So you should get rid of 100-year-old photos that your mother handed down to you that you don't know who the people are
If
in
you don't
them.
know who they are, you're not resonating with that memory. And a lot of us have those, and wait till you pass them on to your children, right? They're going to be yet one step further away from whoever that lady was. I don't know who she was.
Alan Sosnowitz.
Thank you, Joe, and thank you, Shauna. A couple of things. Number one, my my parents' wedding picture with a whole bunch of cousins and so on. I took a piece of vellum and had my mother identify everybody in the photo, and then you flip the vellum over to the back, so now I know who's in that photo.
Nice, good idea.
Secondly, with trophies, my dad was a tennis champ, and he had loads and loads of trophies. I kept 2 very significant trophies of the state championship, and he did appear at Forest Hills, the US Open. I saved those particular trophies, but all of the other secondary, what I call secondary levels, I took the plaques off of the trophies, and I saved just the plaque, not the big trophies.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
I've had some success as a middle-aged bodybuilder, as my friends know. I have 52 trophies here. And again, some of them are the 4-foot-tall birthday cake type trophies, and they're god-awful ugly. And in bodybuilding.
Alan, not to interrupt, but you have a question there?
Oh, I just had a comment of, again, saving the plaques only.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And with the photos, going back to the previous question, you know, you don't have to keep the frames. A lot of times we threw things in frames, and if you're like, I want to keep the photo, but I'm not going to put it out, you can get rid of the frame. The glass is recyclable. Probably the bulk of the frame is not. And
sorry, Joe. I didn't have a question. I just had an addition. Excuse me.
those are great ideas. Taking photographs, we could put them in a book. Like, let's say you wanted to make a photo book called My Dad's Trophies or My Weightlifting Trophies. Take a picture of each one, write the story, upload them, and print a photo book. You'd have them all. So there are options.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Shauna.
Howie. Howie.
Okay. Good morning. My question to Shauna is person to person still in business?
They are still in business. They are still accepting donations.
They are. Okay, fine.
Yes, they are. They were closed for a while. They're open now.
Excellent.
But check the hours, because that seems to change every week when they're accepting
I can
donations.
call them, or I tried reaching them before, and I think they're a great place to
Terrific.
do it. Thank you.
There are many, many great charities. I mean, here in Darien, we have the thrift shop. We have person to person. There are lots of great places to take items, but they're all kind of trying to follow COVID around. So you kind of have to call before you go.
Okay, thank you.
Larry Holzman.
I was just going to reiterate that the shredder at the recycle center, the industrial shredder, is open. And I usually go down there, take a box at a time. Takes about 15 minutes to do. And you do it yourself.
Great option. Just keep it in a banker's box, you know, those boxes that you can get. Just sort. When the box is full, you take it.
Bill Johnson.
What's the best thing to do with collectibles?
So you mean like little
Well,
figurines and things like that, like Yadro or Hummels or things like that?
how about a collection of frog things?
So these are difficult. The collection has value because it's all together and you enjoyed that process of collecting that item. So the best thing to do with a collection, of course, is display it so you can enjoy it. If you decide you're finished with the collection and you don't want to display the collection anymore, or you have too much, then I would say we have a couple of options. One, we can go back to that previous idea and say, I'm going to take a picture of them all and make a book called My Frogs, and I'm just going to keep it. And then these are my 3 favorite frogs, and I'll keep those 3 on the shelf, but I don't have space for the 300 I collected. Now, what do I do with the remaining, 297 frogs? And the question becomes, are they of value or not? Certain items have value as a collection, but very few. Most items you'd have to look at one at a time. And there are options. This is going into the selling category where if you think you have an item of value, you can usually nowadays take a picture and shoot it to somebody who's a reseller. Either they're an auction house or there are people who work as eBay kind of social media resellers. My experience with them is they tend to take about 40%, but they'll do all the work. They'll take your photos, they'll upload the photos, list. They usually also have a minimum price. So if it's only worth $12, they're not going to do it. It has to usually be at least worth $100 or $200 for that process. So if you suspect something has value, an individual value, I would try to reach out to an appraiser to have them look at it. shoot them a photo, and they'll tell you usually right away, well, it's really not worth anything. Maybe you could sell your whole collection on Facebook Marketplace to somebody who has been wanting a bunch of frogs, and you might get lucky.
Carl Shapiro.
What about old expired red fire extinguishers?
Oh yeah, fire extinguishers, that's a tricky one. I would try your recycling center and see what they have to say about emptying those. I think that they are recyclable if they are empty, but I'm not sure. That's a good one.
Thank you.
The fire department.
I'll look
Lloyd.
that up because now you got me curious.
Lloyd,
I have a question
I figured that.
about, I have like a perfect set of fine china.
Yeah.
What do we do with them?
That china, that's such a tough one. You know, that was big bucks, right? When we got them, people bought us a plate for $80 or whatever.
Right.
It's a hard one. It's a hard one. The market is very poor for china. Maybe if it's really plain, like solid white or white with a silver line or something, if it has flowers on it, nobody wants it. So my best suggestion is to use it. Pull it out. Start using it. Enjoy it. Don't keep it up in the cabinet anymore. It's not recyclable, and it's very hard to sell. Again, it's a market issue. You know, it was very popular. It has value, but I mean, if you've got a nice Wedgwood white basket weave, you could probably do that. But something that has flowers and a gold rim that can't go in the dishwasher, the young people, they just don't want it.
one thing that you can do with that, it happened to me with crystal. Couple of glasses, wine glasses broke, and I went on eBay, and there were some people that listed their crystal and china as replacement pieces. So I was able to pick up the two glasses from somebody that had that pattern from that company.
Yeah.
So that's
So
another way of doing it. Just list
you
it.
can donate that stuff. You can donate sets of china. You can donate crystal. You know, I see that Peter said you can take that to Goodwill. So you can donate those items. It's selling that's hard. I think it's a neat idea to try to sell as replacements. There actually is an organization called Replacements, but I don't know if they survived COVID, that they used to be the place where you could go and you could sell, you know, you could say, I have 7 of these plates, I'll sell them to Replacements, and then they'll have them and be able to resell them. They were like the middleman, but you had to pay. So that this is something you have to be aware of anytime you sell. It takes energy, whether it's your energy or you're paying someone else to do it. It takes energy. It takes an investment to take the photographs and list them and get noticed. Facebook is hot. You can get a lot of stuff on Facebook. So if you have a really nice complete set of china that you don't want and you want to put it up on a Facebook Marketplace or a Craigslist, you don't have anything to lose but your time.
Then the last question I have is, when you were talking about paint, it was the fact that if it was water-based paint, you could dispose of it normally in the trash. And if it was oil-based, if you let the can open and let the paint dry, then it could be disposed of. Is that still?
That's still a thing. If you open the cans up and you let them dry, and one way to make them dry quickly is to pour kitty litter into them, because it soaks it up and it dries. So if you have a can and it has just this much in it, and you could just open it up and put it in the sun and it could dry, or you can pour some kitty litter into it, then it's okay. If it still has a fair amount of liquid in it, I think that Sherwin-Williams on Hope Street is the best place to go.
Okay. Well, again,
Last question. Joe?
that's what, Larry, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. My wife has something to say.
Estate Treasures in Greenwich is open and looking for consignments. You can send them a picture and they will tell you whether they will accept it, and you can consign your items, and they are very respectable. They've been in business many years. I was an employee there, and it's hjantiques@aol.com. And it's a great place to get rid of things. Also, this Greenwich auction will take things too. So contact.
There are
them.
lots of them. Clearinghouse Estates, there are lots of auction companies, and it's easier now with your camera on your phone. You can just pop a photo and text it off or email it off to them, and they're very responsive. They'll let you know whether they think they want it or not. I'm just responding to the question in the chat about the recycling centers. They do go. The stuff you put in recycling goes up to the recycling sorters. So it's not just for a farce that they're showing you. It's just to be aware that single stream, that, you know, people put stuff in there that shouldn't go, and then lots get rejected. And even something like plastic, we know plastic can go in, but we put things in that are too small. So a bottle cap is not going to make it. You might as well throw it away, because it's going to end up in the same place. It's going to fall through the sorter, and you're paying the gas to drive it up there, and then to drive it to be burned. So it should be kind of like the size of a yogurt container, plastic. If it's smaller than that, like your medicine containers, the little orange ones, too small.
Okay, well, we've reached our time. Seana, thank you for a great presentation, and only hope that we could have done that in the spring when we're live and scheduled to go live, but I don't think we missed a beat doing it this way. And we had about 55 people at our meeting, so we're getting the numbers back up again after the summer. And just want to remind board members that at 1 o'clock next week after our meeting, we'll convene for a board meeting, and see you all next week. And Seana, you're invited, you know, anytime you see anything that you might be interested in listening to and all, you're certainly invited to jump in and sign in. And I guess, as Steve said, it's up on our website. So the link is on our website.
Thank you so much. I loved being with you all. I wish you a wonderful week.
Thank you again, Seana. Okay. With that,